Many of Hollywood's concerns about the environment, specifically global warming or climate change as they've rebranded it, aren't really about keeping our air clean, preserving delicate ecosystems, or developing green energy, but instead is just a smokescreen to hide their true intentions. Obviously, we should take care of the environment, not litter, we should recycle, and be good stewards of the earth, but the fanatical doomsday warnings about global warming are designed to mobilize people to accept exorbitant carbon taxes, embrace the implementation of enormous new socialist programs, and probably future climate lockdowns as well. Celebrities have always been tree huggers and concerned about the environment, which is a good cause, but their hysterical rhetoric about what humans are supposedly doing to the planet is getting increasingly radical to the point that they are literally claiming that the human race will go extinct if we don't listen to them. And any day now, when we peer outside of our windows, it's going to be as if we're looking at a scene from a disaster movie. Hollywood Health and Society, the organization that helped inject storylines about Obamacare into TV shows, also lobbies Hollywood studios about climate change. They specifically have been focusing on comedy shows. The organization's website openly states that, quote, Hollywood Health and Society assists with research, providing a range of information from experts for storylines on topics from rising seas to melting glaciers, the increase of extreme weather to the spread of infectious diseases from the Arctic to LA. But they're certainly not the only ones lobbying Hollywood to warn viewers about the issues. In 2011, the Secretary General of the United Nations traveled to Hollywood during Oscar week in order to encourage industry insiders to make more films about climate change. The UN famously recruits celebrities like Angelina Jolie and George Clooney as ambassadors to further their agendas, since many people view celebrities as experts in everything. Knowing that few people watch documentary films, the UN focused on getting the issues incorporated into television series and movies. Executives working for the Fox television network, not to be confused with Fox News, once openly admitted that the network uses their shows to promote concerns about global warming. The chairman at the time, Gary Newman, admitted in a promotional video the company put out years ago that they were doing this.
We want to set an example to others in our industry and other industries that no matter what the size of your carbon footprint is, you can make a difference. The biggest thing we've done is inserting messages about the environment into some of our content.
The Simpsons, King of the Hill, Family Guy, 24, and many other Fox shows have all included warnings about global warming, sometimes very brief, but they are there. Here's another television executive, Dana Walden.
The most powerful way that we could communicate the commitment on behalf of our company was to change the practices within the production, as well as work in a message about global warming, about environmental changes, and about empowering people to take responsibility.
The most infamous global warming propaganda film is perhaps Al Gore's documentary, An Inconvenient Truth, which helped jumpstart the global warming hysteria. Devastated by losing the 2000 election to George W. Bush, Al Gore found meaning in his life, traveling around the world, giving his doomsday predictions to anyone who would listen. But documentary films don't have the same impact that big-budget movies do. Kevin Costner's Waterworld was perhaps the first major film used to promote fears about global warming. The polar ice caps had melted and the entire Earth was covered with water, forcing citizens to live on boats. At the time, it was the most expensive film ever made, but turned out to be an epic flop. Another pathetic attempt at pushing climate change hysteria was The Day After Tomorrow, which depicted the Earth freezing from climate change. Dennis Quaid plays a climatologist who realizes that the melting polar ice caps have disrupted the ocean currents and caused an enormous polar vortex which drops the entire Earth's temperature below freezing. The film was widely mocked as ridiculous and had the opposite effect that was intended. But Vanity Fair is upset that there aren't more films about climate change and recommends that the next Fast and Furious film depict a gang driving electric vehicles instead of ones with gas-guzzling combustion engines to set a good example. In Pixar's animated film Cars 2, a big oil company is the bad guy, conspiring to prevent an alternative, more environmentally friendly fuel from catching on. The 2014 science fiction film Interstellar revolved around the human race having to find another planet to live on because of dust storms and crop failures, and While not mentioning the words climate change, many saw the subtle message it was trying to make. Greenpeace praised the film for helping raise awareness about the issue, but the message was too subtle for some critics. Some complained that the words climate change were never explicitly mentioned in the film, and instead of trying to solve the, quote, mistakes that humans have made on Earth that caused the planet's destruction, the characters instead decided to abandon Earth and try to start over somewhere else. In the film Downsizing, Matt Damon and Kristen Wiig play a couple who plan to undergo a new scientific shrinking procedure similar to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but this time on purpose, along with thousands of other people, in order to all live in miniature communities so that they will use a much smaller amount of Earth's natural resources. By downsizing, they also reduce the amount of pollution they create and help slow climate change. But only 3% of the population opts for downsizing, meaning it has little effect on saving the Earth from overpopulation. In the end, the people who didn't succumb to the procedure are said to be on the verge of all dying from global warming. But the miniature downsized people were all safe in an underground bunker, and they'll be the ones to repopulate the Earth once the climate calamity ends. Ethan Hawke stars in First Reformed, where he plays a minister struggling with his faith after his son died in the war in Iraq because he encouraged him to enlist in the military as part of the family tradition. And again, the Earth is on the verge of being uninhabitable because of climate change. And after Ethan Hawke starts researching climate change, he starts planning to kill a wealthy factory owner and others who aren't good stewards of the Earth. Equally corny was the 2018 version of The Predator, where a key part of the plot is when the humans figured out why the creatures had returned to the Earth after the incident depicted in the original film. The aliens, it turns out, were worried that climate change was going to make humans extinct soon, and so the creatures came to Earth to collect our DNA for their own genetic experiments before it was no longer available.
How long before climate change renders this planet unlivable? 2 generations? 1?
That's why their visits are increasing. They're trying to snap up all of our best DNA before we're gone.
Adapt themselves with it and then move in.
We're an endangered species, and they know it.
They thrive in a hothouse environment. Maybe they'll want to move into ours.
Like Donald Trump said, everything woke turns to bleep, including the Predator franchise. Something that's not crap, however, are my books. And if you enjoy watching my videos, you'll love reading my books because there's so much more info in there than I can get into on YouTube. So order my latest, Hollywood Propaganda, How TV, Movies, and Music Shape Our Culture. Get it in paperback from Amazon.com or download the ebook onto your tablet from any of the major ebook stores. And of course, there's a link to the listing in the description below. So click it and head on over there and check it out.